Greetings everyone, my name is Greg. In this video I am going to talk about how to refute the claims of Christians, as well as some things that you need to be aware of before you even begin to have a conversation with a Christian. This video will go hand in hand with the video I did of deconverting from Christianity, which there will be a link annotation on the screen that you can click on and watch that video. The thing to remember when dealing with a Christian, it doesn't matter if they're a fundamentalist or not. If you're having any type of discussion or debate, typically the vast majority of Christians will act like you don't know anything. That you can point out something that is written in their Bible and they will act like what you're pointing out you just don't understand. Their idea, their way of trying to spin it, is actually the way it really is meant. This is not the case. Because if it would be, you would be able to look at the text and see what they're saying. And in a lot of cases, if not all cases, what you have them trying to do is infer things that are not in the story. And that is where looking at this, very similar to, like, if you're going to be critiquing a book and talking about what's in a book, like, to use an example, Stephen King's book, It. You can only go by what is in the text of that book, what is actually written in the book. There are things that in a movie adaptation, you have, like, a director or whatnot reading into and giving what they think. But the thing is, then you're going and diverting from what is in the book. And you're going more by that director's thought. And that is what Christians are wanting to actually do. Is they're wanting to rewrite their Bible to fit what they think. Because when I talked to Mark Powers regarding, like, the idea of the Nephilim, one thing he was very big on right away was, where is it written? Basically, what book, chapter, and verse are you talking about? And when I told him, he read over it and was, I don't see anything about that. He was going by, what are the words in the story? What is it actually saying? Not what are people reading into it, or how are people trying to use the term interpret what is there to being a way that's not what's written. Because anytime you try to say, well, it's actually saying this, like when I did the interview with the Christian pastor, and he tried saying that the fall was spiritual, that's not written. And for him to be, well, that's what it means. Where? Based on what evidence are you trying to say that's what it means? To just try and throw out there that this is the real meaning. What's the foundation for that claim? If it is only your thoughts, that's meaningless. A Christian that you're dealing with has to have a foundation in their Bible to support the idea that they're trying to put forward. If the idea is not directly stated in the text, there is no reason to accept their, to use the term, interpretation or idea of what is actually meant. Because there are so many examples that I can give for this as well. Like the aspect of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil and the tree of life, where Christians will try and say, well, Adam and Eve were immortal before they ate of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. If that would be the case, there would have been no need for them to eat of the tree of life, because they would have already had the immortality from that tree, so why eat of it? Just like if they would try to say, well, they had the ability to differentiate between good and evil, then if that's the case, why would they have needed to eat of the tree of the knowledge if they already had that knowledge? Why would their eyes have been opened by doing that? When they're reading into it, they're changing what is being said to fit their agenda. And this is what you will see time and time again. Or they will be completely ignoring different things, what is actually there, because it doesn't fit their agenda. Like another example with that is in Isaiah 53:10, where they try to act like this is talking about Jesus, but it clearly states about his seed. And the Hebrew word for seed in there is zerah, which is your offspring. Jesus had no offspring. And his life will be prolonged, that God will prolong his days. Well, Jesus' life, his days weren't prolonged. And there are other things that are actually written in the story that refute what they're trying to say. Well, this is actually talking about this person. If it would be actually talking about a specific person, it would mention the specific person. It would not be giving a generalized to almost a group type. In the case of Isaiah 53, it would not have been written in the aspect of this is how the kings are perceiving this person or this whatnot. And that's what Isaiah 53 is really getting at. And Mark established that very clearly in the interview we did on Isaiah 53, the suffering servant is not Jesus. There will be an annotation on the screen to that video. Because that one, it's an hour-and-a-half interview, but it really breaks down the 53rd chapter of Isaiah and why this doesn't work as far as what Christians want to try and claim. The thing is, the videos that I have done and the interviews that I have done with Mark Powers are, if you're wanting to have a discussion about what is in the Bible, I don't know of any better videos on YouTube to really get at what is actually written. Because I give you in those videos book, chapter, and verse. I show it to you. And I would recommend take notes. Maybe have like a word pad or something that you can be topic-wise. And have notes of this is what, like under this topic, the hell topic, and you can have different verses that relate to that. Or the different claims regarding Jesus in the Old Testament and why they don't work. Or the idea of forgiveness came about by changing your behavior and having that book, chapter, and verse where you can quickly reference that when dealing with a Christian to point out this is where a different idea is being expressed. There are so many things that they can try to throw at you because they will, more times than not, what the approach that a Christian will take is a shotgunning. They will shotgun all kinds of claims, and when you try to nail them down on a particular one, they will be jumping all over the board and either ignoring what you're saying in one and just trying to go to another. Because if you refute one thing, they'll be, well, what about this? Well, what about this? Well, what about this? And the big thing is try to keep them focused on, in a sense, one subject at a time. It'll be very difficult to do because they will not admit that they're wrong. Their egos just can't handle that. The thing is, you do need to make sure that you are adequately armed. before having a conversation with a Christian about this type of thing. That is also one reason why I would recommend not having these type of conversations in person until you are really proficient at pointing out through their Bible and just walking them with their own Bible. Because when you're first getting started, you would probably be best to do this via online, so that if they post a comment to you and it's something that you don't know the answer to, I'll have a link in the description bar below to where you can download the eSword Bible. I will also have in there my Facebook and Twitter, where you can add me on both of those, that if you have a question that you absolutely cannot find the answer to, shoot me a message. And I will get back to you either with where I know a claim is refuted, or if I don't know, I'll call Mark and I'll ask him. Things like that I have no fear in asking Mark about something in the Old Testament or Jewish Bible, because frankly, it's his book. It's not a matter of wanting to act like I know everything. I'll be the first to admit I don't. But I'm also willing to learn and hear what he has to say regarding what is in the Hebrew. The thing with Christians is, I won't say all of them, but the vast majority are not intellectually honest to straight up honest. They will some of them will intentionally and knowingly lie in order to try and push their Jesus agenda, and they'll be knowing that they're lying, but they feel that the ends justify the means, that it doesn't matter if they lie and make up bullshit, so long as a person believes in what they're selling and accepts their Jesus, then to them, that's all that matters. Well, the truth of the matter is, there is no threat of a hell in an afterlife. The interviews that I've done with Mark Powers are a very valuable tool for those that are deconverting and want to understand what is actually in the Old Testament. Now, with those interviews, there will be the clear, when Mark says something, it will be from the Jewish point of view, and want to keep that in mind. However, as far as the text goes, I think what he is saying can be very valuable, because what you have to go by is what is actually written. Not, well, it actually means this. Well, if that's not what the words on the page say, and there is nothing that points to that type of conclusion, where does that conclusion come from? Where are they getting that type of thing? And if it would come down to, well, this is what our church says, well, so what? That doesn't mean anything. There is nothing saying that your church isn't wrong, especially when the ideas that they're wanting to say, this is what it actually means, directly conflicts with Judaism. Because if they're wanting to try and use the Jewish Bible, then what they're saying has to line up with Judaism at the very least, because their own Jesus was a Jew. He wasn't a Christian. This might come as a major shocker to Christians, but their own Jesus wasn't a Christian. He was a Jew. So he would have been going by Jewish ideas. And there are things that he says that blatantly do not fit what has been taught in Judaism and what lines up with what is in Judaism. All in all, there is a great deal of research and study that you will need to do before you really have a full debate type of thing with a Christian. That is where the videos that I've done can be very valuable in that, because I give book, chapter, and verse when I'm talking about different subjects, and those you can use, but make sure when you use them that you are not mixing up book, chapter, and verse and what is being said in one spot with what's being said in another. Because if you flip-flop them and talk about one thing and quote another verse that goes and relates to something contrary, if they actually look it up, they can call you on it and make it look like you don't know what you're talking about. So it's just one of make sure you have your ducks in a row. Feel free to leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section. Later, people.